In the following video, I'm going to show you how to build a lead researcher agent step by step within make.com. The following agent gathers prospect information from LinkedIn, website, and around the web, and delivers valuable insights directly within your Slack or within your existing workflow, saving you and your team multiple hours in manual research time. With that said, let's start the building. Here's the initial structure for the AI agent and what the infrastructure would look like. We have three main components that we need to focus on in order to actually build the agent. First off, we have the tooling component, which is the most important component because the tools make up what the agent is capable of doing. And so in this specific case, since we want to research leads, our focus is on finding those on Google, finding both them as well as their company on Google, finding them on LinkedIn potentially, since the focus for this is B2B, finding their website content and extracting the website content, and potentially also extracting their information such as their email or their LinkedIn or whatever the case might be. The next focus over here is the system prompt of the agent. So how the agent should behave, what are the main focuses, what are the main tools, and lastly, over here, we have the interaction layer. So this means how do we want to interact with the agent? There are a couple different ways. We will see two of them over here. We will see an interaction with the Slack, and then we will see an interaction within a workflow itself. So let's start the building. We are back in Make over here in the AI agents tab, and now we will need to go and create the actual agent. So we can select the connection. I would say OpenAI works for this specific kind of agent. We select lead researcher agent as the name. For the model, I would say 4.0 or 4.0 mini works. We can put it 4.0. And then over here, we have a system prompt. So at the moment, we will just put a basic prompt. So you are a lead researcher agent was tasked with researching potential leads for our business, and we will leave it at that. And now we will start with the building out of the tooling first. The reason why we start with the tool building is because the configuration here is pretty simple, but the tooling is the part that requires a little bit more time to be configured. So let's start with the first tool, which is the Google research to find the profiles. So over here, we are back in a new scenario. The name over here will be Google research. And then over here, we can add a couple of things. So first off, the most important things when building tooling is the system inputs and outputs. So when it comes to inputs, over here in the tool, we will have a query. So what we will pass on to the Google search query. So here we can give a description of the search query that we will use in our Google search. Type is text, and here we'll put required equal to yes. Next, we will use the start sub scenario module over here. The reason why we do that is because in this way we get all the inputs without having to configure the inputs in another way. And so everything is present over here by default. This is what I've been told also from the Make team in order to use the tooling in the best possible way. Next, over here, what we will need to use is we will need to use a software that allows us to do Google research. So we can use serper.dev, which in my opinion is the best one. And over here, you also have 2,500 queries that you can use. So we can go and sign in or sign up. So over here, I have an example account that I can use. And then within here, we will have the API key that we can use. I think that there's no module within make serper.dev. Okay, so we will need to use a HTTP request. So let's select the HTTP request. use the one with the API key. And then over here, we'll add the credentials. So server.dev. Over here, the key is the following. So let's copy that over here. Here would be helpful to understand where the key is going. So it seems is going in the header. So in the header, X API key is like so, and then we click on create. Okay, so we added the following, and over here, what we just need to do is we use this code over here. So we need to use the search. I wouldn't say we will need to use any other one. And also over here we have the scraper, which is a new one, which we could potentially use when it comes to the other parts. But let's stick with the search first. So we'll copy the URL over here, put it here. We will use a post. Okay, so this is a post. Header, there's no need to put the header. Over here, we will need to put the data. Can we also use the get if we wanted to? Yeah, but yeah, let's use the post. So this would be the data that we need to put over here. Okay. Over here in the query, we can change that to query. Parse response to yes. And so here we have Google search results. So in this way over here, we will have the search results. So if we do a test of something like Uplifted Consulting, we can do a search and we can see what are the results looking like first. So over here, it seems that everything is set up in the core in the following way. So, okay. Here it gives back a couple of different things. And now it's time to add the actual output. So in scenarios over here, we can select the return output, and the return output is basically what the agent receives back from this tool call. So the agent will call the tool. It will call the tool with the information that we provide in the scenario input. So generally, this will be the query itself. Will perform the search and then return the output over here. So one thing that we need to do over here is we need to define the scenario outputs. So what are the things that the scenario will return back? So if we go over here, we can go to the scenario outputs tab, and then we can select the output structure over here. So we can put the search results over here, and this would be the list of results generated by the Google search. Also, one thing which is important over here is the type itself. So in here, we will put array as the type. The reason for that, and over here, we will put array with the collection. And so the reason for that is the following. If we go back over here into, let me zoom in. If we go back over here into the data, we can see that organic, which is the thing that interests us the most, is an array. And within the array, we have different collections. And with each, we have the title itself, we have the link, we have the snippet, and then we have the position itself. So that is why we will put this as array with collection. Now we need to try this out. So let's run this with my name and see if this is correct. So yeah, it seems that everything worked correctly. And I think over here we just need also to set this up to make sure that this is correct. So let's run this again. And here it seems that all the results are actually sent over. So this is first tool. Let's go to the second one. The second tool that we need to build is the LinkedIn profile extraction. So the idea over here is we pass on a LinkedIn URL and then we get back all sort of information about the profile of that person. So the the structure is the same as before. We add the start the sub scenario, and over here as inputs we will add LinkedIn URL, and so the description is the LinkedIn URL of the lead that we need to research. Type is text, required is equal to yes. And over here, for doing the profile extraction, we will use Apify. So if we go to apify.com, there are a lot of web scraping tools that can be used over here. So we'll go to search over here, and we will search LinkedIn profile, and we can use the following one over here: LinkedIn profile scraper no cookie, $3 for 1,000 profiles. So this is the one that I will be using. And over here we can see the actual tool. We can see the information about the actual tool. We can see how the actual tool is created over here. And so after we select that, we go back over here. We select Apify. Over here, you can select run an actor. Select the actual actor Excel. So profile scraper no cookie, $3 for 1,000 profiles. We can run this synchronously. The reason for that is that we want the results to happen immediately, and since we just need to do that for one single profile, we don't have any problem for that. And the reason why I looked over this one and looked over the JSON is that we need to copy this one, and then we need to input this over here, and we will need to change the URL to the following URL, which is defined by the sub scenario over here. And yeah, so we can LinkedIn scraper over here, profile scraper. After the actor over here, what we will need to have is we will need to have a data set. And so over here, we can define this as a default dataset ID. The reason for that is Apify works in the following way. First off, you run the actor, and then finally you retrieve the information on the actor within a dataset. So in this case, the information will be stored in a single dataset, and we can access that directly over here. So we can save over here, and we can test this out with the information about the dataset and see whether this is actually correct. So I don't know, it seems that we need to run this separately. So let's try to run this first with just the dataset ID, and then run this with some dummy data. And yeah, it seems that we have all the information over here about the lead. And so let's go back over here, connect this, rename to get datasets. So we have all the information in a bundle like the following. What we could do two different things over here. We could either put a scenario output that would look like the information that we have over here, but to me this is way too complicated to handle, and so we will do something a little bit different over here. And so this scenario output will actually be another thing. So LinkedIn information, the full information about the LinkedIn profile searched. Over here we will put dynamic collection, as simple as that, and over here we can just copy the full collection directly over here without having to just select the specific kind of data that we want to add, which we will just pass over all the data. So yeah, that is that. Let's go to the next one. The third tool over here would be the website extraction tool. So the idea over here is we pass on a URL, we extract the information from the URL in a markdown format, and then after we have that extracted, what we can do is we can perform some kind of analysis and pass over the analysis. So let's focus on that. First off, we'll run the start scenario. Scenario inputs will be a URL. So URL, the URL to scrape. Yeah, let's put the URL to scrape. Okay, over here we can do two things. We can either use Apify again, or we can use Gina.ai, which is a very powerful tool when it comes to search. And it's free also, another important benefit of this tool. So we can use this, either we can use this with the API, or we can use this directly over here. So Gina AI, we can read the URL. Over here, we can set up the connection. You can have an API key, but this is easily available over here once you get that. URL to read, we can put this URL over here. Format will be markdown, and yeah, over here there are a bunch of different information that we can add. I guess there's no need to focus that much on that. So this would be website extraction. And yeah, so let's test this out of 1 second over here in the following way. So let's put my own website as a test. So the information that is extracted is the following. So over here we have a bunch of different markdown data, which to me isn't very useful when it comes to like extracted data. So what I would put over here is I would put an additional step. So that would be, for example, an OpenAI step. And within this step, we actually do the analysis of the website. So we pass over the information directly to OpenAI, and then OpenAI gives us back an analysis of that website. The reason why we do that instead of actually using OpenAI search functionalities is that this is a cheaper alternative. That's the only reason for that. So as a message over here, we'll have the system message. You are a website researcher tasked with finding the most important information about a website. This is part of our lead researcher agent. This just to give a little bit of information. And then as a user query, what we'll pass over here is analyze the following website. And output in JSON format the following information. Over here, we will define the information. So company name, then value proposition, who they help, and yeah, I can be that way. So website content, and here we will pass over the website content, and then finally output. And then we go into show settings, enable response format in JSON. So we parse the JSON response and then click on save. So this is a website analyzer. The following way will give back some kind of responses in JSON format. So let's also run this again to see what is the quality of the response looking like. And over here we have company name, we have value proposition, and then we have who they help. And then finally over here we can just return the output and define the output over here. So company information. So this would be company information gathered by analyzing the website. And over here, we can do dynamic collection again. And so in the following way, we can select the result and get all the result information directly over here. Now let's build the last component, which will be the information extractor. So the idea over here is we pass over the information that we collected and then we get back an email. So let's start with start the sub scenario. Over here, we will define the inputs. So what I will put over here is I will put the LinkedIn URL. So the URL of the lead. This will be a text, and then over here another one will be full name, the full name of the lead, and then finally what we put is we put the website, the website, um, the website of the lead. Great. So for this, for the information extraction, we will use TryKit, which is the following tool over here, which is an email finder tool. So I want to use this kind of tool because it's a pay-as-you-go model. So in this way, you don't need to pay a monthly subscription. So that's a powerful thing. And so I will go to the REST API of the tool, find all the information over here. So over here, I can select the HTTP request, go through this one over here. I already added my credentials, but over here you can click on API key. You can sign up, click on API key, and you will find your own API key. And then over here, we can get all the information. So we will put the following information. We'll put find email over here. This will be a post, if I'm correct. So let's see. Yes, this is a post. And then we will need to put all the information. So let's go over here, and here we can select the content. So let's go back over here. Let's copy this, paste the following, and add full name over here. Let's add the domain over here. So website. And then finally, let's add the profile URL over here. Real time, yes. Custom data, no. Callback URL, we don't need those. So those are just the information that we need. This will be an email finder. And so let's try to run this with the information that we have available. So Riccardo Vandra, upliftedconsulting.com, and the following URL. Seems that he found the actual information, found the email. That's great. And so what we will do is we will return the output over here, and with the output we will put the email, so the email of the lead. So in this way we can actually we can not only get the main information, but we could also get the email. So all tooling is now built. Let's see how we can configure this together within our lead researcher agent. And so over here, we will have the system tools, and we can add the system tools directly over here. What we will need to do over here is add a description to each of the tools so they can be actually used, and the agent understand when it makes sense to use which tool. So over here, we will use the Google Research. So use the tool to perform Google searches on people or companies. Here we will put extract the information on a LinkedIn profile based on a LinkedIn URL. And then we will put website extraction, extract information about a website and perform some light analysis. And what we will do is we will add these three as system tools. So in the following way, we will have all the tools available over here. Then let's go back over here and enable those tools. So those can actually be used. And all these different tools will be set to on demand because that is the way agents use their own tool within make.com. So let's go back over here, set this up and set this up. And then finally, what we can do is we can test out the agent with the first set and see how this actually works. So we are back in the interface over here. And what I can do over here is I can select the make AI agents, run an agent. And over here, I can choose my own agent. So we can choose the lead researcher agent. Those are the tools that he has available right now. And then what we can do over here is we can add a specific message. So let's say, please research Riccardo Vandra at Uplifted Consulting and give back an overview of him as well as the company details. Make sure to focus on job information, and company information over certifications, skills. The reason for that is because LinkedIn has a lot of information about the skills, the certification, those kind of things. And so in this way, I wanted to search the specific person. So let's run this and see what is the result looking like first. And then we will start with the actual implementation of the different true solutions. Okay, we got a response over here, and within the response, this is what we got. So we got an overview of the person, current position, what it does, previous experience, company overview, and then over here, information about everything. So yeah, it seems pretty good in terms of information that it gives back. So what we can do is we can start to integrate that within a couple of different workflows. First off, we can use this one directly, and we can potentially start with a tally form. So the idea over here is every time we have a lead that comes into a form or whatever kind of form, we can perform some kind of lead research on him and get all the information back about him sent via email or sent in whatever kind of format we want to. So over here, what we can do is we can use Tally. Tally is a software for form submissions similar to Typeform. And I will use this form as a reference over here that I created a couple of days back. And so if we go back over here, I choose a webhook, and that should be the webhook related to that specific form. So let me run this and check that this is actually the correct form. Here we go, we got the response over here. So what we can do right now is we can connect this to the make agent. So this would be lead researcher. And what we can do over here is we can research the person. So we can add some kind of variables directly within the message. So we will add those kind of message. We don't have the company name over here, so we can put please research Erdovandra. Here's also his email. And give back an overview of him as well as company details. So, okay, that's perfect. We can save this. And then what we can do is we can email this information to our email and see what is the output looking like. So let's select the email. and select everything over here. Subject, you got a new response. And also, by the way, since we are sending this over email, what we can do over here is we can add additional system instruction, and we can say, please format the response in HTML format, since we need to send this over via email. Only output the HTML. Now let's add the content over here. So what we can do is we can put the content of the tally, and then we can put the content of the actual response that we got back from the lead researcher. So we can say you got a new lead response, and then we put back this over here. Full name equal, and then here we can select first name space last name, and then we can close this. Also, we can add this a bold, so strong, okay. And then we add the same thing over here. So we add email, then email comes from here. And then let's close this. And then finally we put the question. Question asked. Then over here, your question. And then finally over here, we put the lead overview. So this would be it. We can save this, and then we can send email, and then we can test this out and see what is the output looking like. So we are back over here. Let's do Riccardo Vandra, and let's put a couple of information here. Email. Come, and then put hey there, interested in your services. And we can set it up so this is already active, and then we can click on submit, and we can see what is the result looking like. So it will start to receive the data in a second over here. So the automation finished over here. I ran through the lead research agent, and as a response, we got everything in HTML. What we can do over here is we can also see the execution steps. So here, the first two ones are the system prompt. So this is the system prompt, as well as the content. So as you can see over here, the system prompt is the following, and then over here there's the additional instruction that we put directly within this specific agent, because maybe we don't want to output the HTML format in every single workflow, but we just want to do that over here. And here we have the prompt that we sent over, and then we have different steps over here. So the first one is an AI step that called the Google research, and here it put the actual query. Then over here we can see what is the response looking like and the format of the response. And over here we can see another tool calling, which is the LinkedIn profile extraction with the LinkedIn URL, and it seems to be the correct LinkedIn URL, as well as the LinkedIn response with all the information about myself. And then finally over here, I think also it went over the website extraction, and so it extracted information on the website. So if we go back over here to response, and the information is exactly formatting in the way that we set out to be. And then finally it gives back the response from the agent itself. And so the output from the email would look something like the following. So over here, we had the part that we created manually with the within the email, and then over here we have all the information. So as you can see over here, this is correctly formatted. Over here, it even added the image, so that is fairly good. I think this is generated directly from the LinkedIn scraper. And yeah, so it gives a current position, past experience, company overview, company highlights, content information. So a lot of different information just without that much prompting. So I think even with a little bit more prompting, the quality over here could be even better. Now that we saw this first example, let's look at another example where we use the agent within a Slack environment. Here's the second example that I want to show you. So first off, what we have over here is watch new events within Slack. So basically what we did over here is we created a webhook within Slack that watches for new messages in a specific channel. So in that way, we can only monitor a specific channel. And over here, we can define whichever channel we want to. And then what we can do is we can run the lead researcher directly within that channel. Another thing that I think could be really useful over here is if we could add another tool, which would be the information extractor tool. And the description here would be find email information about the prospect using his name and website. His name, website, and LinkedIn URL. So let's also go over here to so let's also go to tool extraction to activate the tool. So this is the one that we built with the email finder, and go back over here and click on add. As you can see over here, we have the system tools, which are the main tools that we defined at the beginning. And then we added an additional tool over here, which is the information extractor tool. So in this way, we didn't want this kind of tool because we already got the information from the prospect. But if we want to perform some kind of research directly within Slack, that is where the tool actually comes useful over here. So over here, what we can do is we can say, please don't be as strict with the previous system instruction, give priority of what's asked in the message, format everything using Slack formatting for better readability, and don't use headings, instead use bolds. Over here, we add the text itself, and then finally what we do over here is we send the response. Another thing over here, which I think would be better to add, would be this command over here that replaces double asterisk with single asterisk. The only reason for that is that formatting for Slack, it's a little bit difficult to understand from AI agents. And yeah, over here, all the information is put it directly on a thread. And so we can click on save over here. And then we can go back over here, double check, and try to run this directly within Slack. So here we are in Slack, and what can I do right now is perform some kind of research saying, hey there, please research Riccardo at Uplifted Consulting and give me back his email. So I can run something like that and see whether the agent is capable of getting the email back and getting all the information back. So let's check over here and see what is the output looking like. As you can see over here, I found the email address for Riccardo at Uplifted Consulting. It is Riccardo at upliftedconsulting.com. So in this instance, we didn't want to go over all the research. We just wanted to have information about one single email. And if we go over here and we can look at the execution steps, we can see that, for example, it seems that the AI called the Google research, then it got a response back from the Google research. It called the information extractor directly with a LinkedIn URL, full website, full name, and a website, and then finally got back the information of my email and sent over the response. So in this way, the agents can be used both as a helper tool within Slack for different kind of support tasks, as well as a workflow tool that can be implemented directly within a workflow. So that's it. Hope it was useful. Hope you get some valuable information about that. If you want to implement this within your business, feel free to message me, and catch you in the next video where I will show you more AI agents within Make.com.